All right, we've got your market update through the end of September 2025, and there's some things you're not going to want to miss, especially where I made a mistake. Also, there is trouble brewing in the new construction market. So if you want to know more about what those two things are, watch the rest of this video. All right, you stuck around, so let's find out where I made an error on my prediction this month and also where the trouble is brewing. So first things first, let's go look at the existing home sales chart like we always do. This red line is active listings, and the black represents closed sales for that month, and then of course pending sales for that month as well. So here's why I messed up. I said that you would see inventory continue to do the same thing it did the month before, where I was right. And I said it would go down. But if you look closely, it actually went up, which is pretty surprising to me. Even having worked through the month and selling real estate here, I'm shocked that we saw an increase. Now, it's not a massive increase. You know, we're looking at maybe like a 3% increase, but I was certainly expecting to be more like a 2 to 3% decrease, just more of this trend line. So what does that mean exactly? Well, I can't really say much at this point. Rates did dip. We saw a lot more buyer activity, but when you look at the pending sales, they were down. So they're down roughly 5% or so, 559 versus 523. And I think that's just an interesting stat. I said last month that it was, one of the best times to be a buyer in this market because we're seeing rates come down to the low sixes, and we're seeing options out there actually be quite a bit more than we've had in the past. So I still think that's true. In fact, I think this would say it's even better right now because we're seeing that inventory creep up. So let's scroll down to see what's happened to pricing. Pricing has gone up 2% this year in terms of the average sold price. So you can see that we're, $622,000 for the average sold price in this area. And as we, kind of back out just some notable things on inventory and absorption, we're still less than 3 months supply all the way up to $800,000. So typical balance market is somewhere between 5 and 7 months of supply. Given what's happened in the real estate market nationally, and especially, even when we put the microscope on and go local to Boise, that balanced market is probably more like 2 to 5 months. If you're over 5 months, it's definitely a buyer's market. And if you're under 2 months, definitely a buyer's market. So when you look at our stats here, 2 to 250 in Ada County is less than 2 months. Same to 2 to 300, 250 to 300, 350 to 400 is 1.5 months. 4 to 500 is right on the bottom there. So those are all moving very, very, very fast. If you see a home that pops up and you like it and it's in that price range, it's likely that someone else likes it too. And unfortunately, a lot of buyers and their agents are learning the hard way that you have to be aggressive in those price points. And if you look at the rest of the market, you go all the way up to 1.5 million. From 800,000 to 1.5 million, you're 3.4 months of supply. So you're definitely in that balance zone. And the good deals are still selling very, very, very fast. You can see the average days on market over here on the right side of this graph. Basically, we're anywhere from 32, it looks like, all the way up to 72. The average is taking 36 days to get a home sold right now. There is a little bit of distress in this lower price point, but we're not talking about much. It's still nothing. It's more than it has been in the past, but it's nothing that I would say is like alarming at this point by any means. Distressed sales would be short sales, so you owe more than what it's worth, and you're selling it short of what's owed on the mortgage, or maybe a foreclosure. The bank took it back, real estate owned by the bank, and they're selling that now. So what is the trouble that's brewing in new construction? I was looking at this data and I was kind of blown away. So let's take a peek at Ada County new construction. Let's specifically look at the price range from over $2 million. Now, this is kind of crazy. There are 37 active listings over $2 million in new construction. And there's only 31 that have sold in the last 12 months, which means we have 14.7 months of supply. 14.3 months of supply. So that is interesting. This specific scenario reminds me a lot of what we saw, back in the Great Financial Crisis, or the Great Recession, if you will, where, we had builders with spec homes. So that's speculatively building for future demand. They're essentially saying, I'm going to build this home, someone's going to come buy it. I'm speculating that someone will come buy it. That's why they call it a spec home. We didn't see any of these over $2 million. We saw a few in the Great Financial Crisis, but not as many as we did then. In fact, back in 2011 and 12, I think there was only like 5 or 6 homes that sold a year over $1 million. So obviously our market shifted quite a bit. But to see 37 homes active over 2.7 million, and we've only sold 31 in the last 12 months. And by the way, here's a fun statistic, okay? These are 37 spec homes. We're looking at 31 homes that sold. That means someone could have said, I want this lot and I want to build this house, and then it got built for them specifically, which if you had $2 million, do you want to just go buy something that's sitting around, or do you want to customize it? A lot of those people are customizing it. I don't know how many of those 31 sales were customized. Let's just assume maybe a third of them. That means there was only 20 sales. And then if you look at that, now you have almost 2 years worth of inventory. So that's a pretty wild stat. If I was a builder right now, I would not be building anything spec over $2 million. I think that would be very, very, very risky. And I think if I was these builders, I would get my home sold ASAP. Now, of course, they want to sell as quickly as possible, but they need to get way more aggressive on these prices. So if you're a buyer and you're looking in that 2 million plus market, hire your favorite City of Trees real estate agent and have them go negotiate on your behalf, because there is a lot of, I would say, purchase power in that price point. And if that builder's not aware, they're going to be aware here in the next 3 to 6 months when their homes are not selling. So that's some trouble brewing. I hope I'm not sounding like too negative or anything. I just think that's very eye-opening. I know a lot of realtors and builders watch this, and some developers. So I'm curious. Put in the comments wherever you're watching this, reply to your favorite agent, or write in the comments on YouTube. What do you think of all that inventory over $2 million? Do you think that's trouble brewing? Or do you think it's going to be just fine, and all these people are going to come with all this cash and buy it? Very curious what you think. So that's pretty much what I got for this market update. What I'm looking for, let me make some predictions. Let's go back over to the existing homes, and let's zoom back in on this chart. What's going to happen as we go into we finish out October? Gosh, I don't know. I just assume it's going to go down. Look what happened here from September to October last year, and that's pretty typical. It went down by about 10%. I would assume this is going to go down. I'm going to guess it's going to be under probably 1,250. That's my guess. So hopefully I'm not completely wrong, but come back next month and watch, and I will admit whether I'm wrong or right. But I think you're going to be somewhere around 1,250, maybe a little lower. That's my prediction. If you have questions about what's going on in the market, now is a great time to ask them. If you're thinking about targeting the spring market, reach out to us today and find out why spring selling season is actually right now. Because your home, if you want to maximize the amount of money you get for it and the return, you need to actually prepare that home to get the most amount of money. And why not give yourself 3, 4, 5 months advance so you can get all those things taken care of and get that home sold for top dollar. Find out how we can help you at City Trees. It would be our pleasure to help you out. Just reply to your favorite agent who sent you this, or if you're on YouTube, you can go to our website, citytreesrealestate.com, and we'd love to help you with whatever real estate needs you got. So that's all I got for this episode. I'm Chase Craig with City Trees Real Estate. I hope you're having an amazing week and month, and we'll see you here a month from today.